Well, good morning and welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee. As you can see, the background in here looks a little cleaner, I think, than in previous videos. I've just finished an expansion to my little tin barn shop out here. I added about 150%, or increased the floor space about 150%. Did a lot of painting in the other. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that in this video. I'll try to put together a video of the renovation and the addition a little later. But this morning I'm going to do a video on a little project that I think some of you may find useful. I've done some research, tried to see if there was anything commercially available. Didn't find anything. That doesn't mean there's not something out there. It just means I probably don't know the correct name for what I'm going to develop this morning. But I'm going to move the camera around over to the old section of the shop where I've got my 20-ton press set up in there now. And my mic cable won't reach that far, so not sure what the audio quality will be like in that section, but we'll be over there for just a minute, and then we'll come back to the lathe itself. All right, I think all of you are familiar with these 20-ton presses. This is not a Harbor Freight one. It's identical to the Harbor Freight other than color. This one comes from a company called Agri Supply, which happens to be a whole lot closer to me than a Harbor Freight. But in any case, the other day I was out here and I was needing to broach a keyway in a small drum roller on another project, but it was a little bit bigger diameter than this. It would set across the openings in my plates down here, but just barely. But what I found myself the issue with, of course, we know little broaches are very thin, and if I raise the table up to the next notch, the broach went up past the push pin here, push plug. So I found myself looking through my material bin, picking up these little blocks and trying to line them all up in there, set them in to push that thin broach through there. I was concerned about, of course, popping out. It was just one of those things you needed 3 or 4 hands to do. I got that broached, and that's part of a project that I hope to highlight in a video again before too long. But as I was working on that, or after I finished that broaching and got to thinking about it, again I went to looking for something commercially, looked on YouTube to see if anybody had made anything, and I hadn't been able to find anything yet. But what we're going to look at today is machining something that will make that life a little bit easier. And here's what it looks like. This is simply a pin. This one extends my push ram down 3.5 inches. We're going to make one today that will get us 6 inches. Alright, I think if you've watched many of my earlier videos, you've seen me use this stock. As I've said before, I've got 2 8-foot pieces of this 2-inch round stock. It's fairly rusty, but it's some very good material on the inside. And we need a piece 6.7 inches for this project. Alright, we'll move back over to the lathe and start working on our project. Before I put the insert on this, as I've said before, there's a lot of rust on this. So I've got a cloth down across the ways. I've got an 80 grit belt in the pipe sander. I've got the lathe in reverse, and I'm going to just knock some of this rust off. All right, now I'm going to get set up to actually start turning this. All right, I've got each end faced and got a center hole, got the live center in there. We want to make this one to give us 6 inches of additional pin length for the press. So we need to make this portion, we need to turn this portion down 5.7 inches long. There'll be 0.3 of it up inside this cup. So I'm going to set the DRO. I'll zero out the DRO on the Z-axis. Come to 5.7. And I'm going to set my my carriage stop right here at this point. Now this is a 2-inch piece, and this shaft, the pin on mine is 1.2 inches. So that's what we're going to make this diameter 1.2. I'm going to make a couple small passes to begin with here to get some of this pitting out of it, and then we'll start making a little bigger cuts. All right, I've made several passes and got the smaller pits out. There's one big pit down here at the end, or down about 2/3 the way. But I've got it round now. I actually turned it around and cleaned this end up a little bit as well to be sure it was setting in the chuck good. Get a dimension on this at this point. This is 1.858. We want 1.2. So I'm going to tilt the camera up just a little bit so you can see the DRO. Using this touch DRO software to set a dimension on an axis, on the x-axis, I'm going to press and hold. I get the set absolute dimension function. Now we want 1.2. We want to count down since we're cutting into the piece. So 1.2 minus 1.858, which is what we measured. Set dimension. So that says 658 thousandths. What I need to do is just simply work the DRO down to 0. When I get down to 0, the shaft should be 1.2 inches at that point. On other DROs, there's also there should be a means of setting a dimension on there. You may not be able to use the math function, but you should have the capability to set a dimension. So what I'm going to do now is start working my way down to 0 on the DRO. This is a lot of cutting on this. I obviously won't try to video the whole turning process. All right, that's a good finish on there. But I think we can do a little butter. It's got just enough of a roughness to it that it wants to grab lint off the towel. So I have a 320 grit belt in the pipe sander now. We'll give her a final polish. I'm going to have to move everything out of the way here. And I also put just a little chamfer on the end of that. Don't want much. I want a good flat surface there for the end of this pin. Just enough to break any sharp edge. Now I'm going to turn it around in the chuck. I'm going to go ahead and turn this outside diameter right here before we start boring. But this needs to be 1.5 inches. So I'll make a rounding, make a couple of cuts just to be sure it's round. Then we'll set the dimension on it on the DRO. All right, I'm back up here on the DRO. I'm going to set dimension. We want 1.5 minus the reading of 1.870. 1.870, set dimension. We've got 370 thousandths to take off of that. So I'll bring you back when we get on the last pass on that. All right, DRO says we had 62 more thousandths to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that in one pass. And just like before, that's a good finish on there. Ordinarily I'd be happy with that, but we can do a little bit better. So in this end, we want to bore out to 1.2 inches. Remember, that's the size of the shaft on the, or the pin on the press itself. And we want to go in 0.7 inches. We'll start this out with a 1/2 inch drill. And I'm going to use my scale just to bridge across that center mark. Zero out the DRO on the tailstock. And again, we're going to go in 0.7 inches. Now we're going to go in with a 1 inch bit. Alright, now I'm going to get set up with the boring bar. I'll bring you back. What I'm going to do with the boring bar first is try to flatten out that bottom. Alright, I have the bottom of the hole cleaned up now. Got it flat in there. I've set a dimension on the DRO, and we have 147 thousandths to take with the boring bar. Of course, this is a blind hole, so I'm having to watch this. Alright, that should be our dimension. Now, to make this to set this up so we don't have to stand there and hold it and need that third hand, what we're going to do is put a little rare earth magnet in the bottom. And I'll get set up, get the magnet over here to show you what I'm talking about, and get set up to do that. Okay, I evidently messed up the video of where I was going to make the pocket in the one we were working on. So this is another one. I'm making these, I'm going to make them from 1 inch up to the 6 inch that we were working on in 1 inch increments. All right, we're going to make a little pocket to hold these, one of these magnets, rare earth magnets. They are 0.12 inches thick, 120 thousandths thick, and 500 thousandths diameter. These were metric. I think I bought them in a pack of 50 off of eBay. But we're going to make a little pocket in there. But of course, the first thing we need to do is get it centered. So I'm just going to use the edge finder like normal, like usual, and get this centered up, and then I'll bring you back when I get the mill in there ready to mill out the pocket. All right, I've located the center on the X and Y axis. Got the 1/2 inch end mill in there now. We'll bring it down. It touches off. Zero out the Z axis. Now we want to go down 0.12 inches. And there's our 0.12. And of course it needs cleaning out, but what we have in there is a pocket that magnet will go in. I will use some acetone, clean that up good, dry it out, and then glue the magnet in. Okay, I'm back over here at the press. Again, I think everything turned out all right on it, got a good finish on it. I was able to, I don't have a scale out here in the shop where I could get a real accurate weight on there. It was these were either too heavy for my little grain scale, or the scale I use in the archery goes up to 300 pounds. So I couldn't get a very good reading on that, but I used a metal calculator, 1.2 inches, the length, and the type of material. And these two combined, this one about 1.8 pounds. Magnet holds it fine. And this one 1.2 pounds, so together about 3 pounds. And I was just curious to see if a magnet would hold that much, a single magnet. And sure enough it does. It holds it enough to get some pressure from the vise on there. Not that I would put that much on there at one time. I don't think I would unless I had to get down into a pocket somewhere. But I think what I will do is make several of these different lengths as I have some free time here in the shop, or as I need a little project, something to do, and get some down maybe a 2 inch. This one's about 3.5 inches, I believe, what it turned out to be. But this would be the longest I would have on there. Anything more than that, and I could move the pins on the press table. I hope you got a little bit out of that, and if anybody knows a proper name for these, I would sure appreciate you letting me know. Take care, and we'll see you on the next video.